stepping in
spectacular,
as well.
over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's right now. So they wipe off his gloves, but you look at him like he's really feeling it right now. I mean, he probably has no idea where he is.
Time when I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
It's likely that one big shot's going to land if the guy's not throwing other shots. So I thought with less artillery in the air, less bombs in the air, that the guy would have a chance to get to later round.
Joe Rogan reacted to Jake Paul's knockout loss with laughter while sitting alongside Anthony Joshua, calling the fight a mismatch from the very beginning. Rogan explained that Jake typically competes against retired fighters or MMA veterans, not an active Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. He emphasized that Joshua is not only elite, but also operates far above Jake's natural weight class. From a realistic boxing standpoint, Rogan said the outcome was obvious before the opening bell, and the results simply confirmed what most experts already knew.
Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists.
After the fight, Anthony Joshua delivered a blunt post-fight assessment, stating that the knockout actually spared Jake Paul. Joshua explained that had the fight continued, he would have mentally and physically broken him down even further. According to Joshua, the early stoppage prevented more serious damage and prolonged punishment inside the ring.
Fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct...
The moment Anthony Joshua was linked to what many called a circus fight against Jake Paul, the boxing world split in opinion. Critics viewed it as spectacle rather than legitimate sport, citing the massive gap in size, experience, and pedigree. Joshua is a two-time heavyweight champion and Olympic gold medalist, while Paul is still developing as a boxer. To many, the matchup felt engineered for attention rather than competition, which is why figures like Simon Jordan condemned it after Joshua broke Paul's jaw with a knockout, calling the event harmful to boxing's credibility.
Industry, because straight after the fight, I heard the question being posed to Joshua, will he now fight Fury? And then my first thought was, after what I've seen, who cares? After that, who cares if Joshua fights Fury? I like Anthony Joshua immensely, Spencer. Any exchanges I've had with him, I think he comes across terrifically well. But I fail to see where it's taken us, where it's taken him, other than hugely increasing his bank balance. You know, I really fail to see what this has done.
Well, it's done nothing, but he was going to fight in November, like I said, and he's just gone in there against Jake Paul. What has it done for his legacy? Absolutely zero. But it was, you know, he's earned a lot of money doing that. And he's going to go again, and he's going to fight possibly February, March, and then there's that Tyson Fury fight that's looming that could happen in September, whether Tyson Fury decides to come out of retirement or not come out of retirement. For Anthony Joshua, he's earned a hell of a lot of money. This is prize fighting, and that's what it's all about. And that's what he's done.
Jordan argued that these crossover events blur the line between sport and entertainment, pulling focus away from meaningful competition. He stressed that Joshua has already secured generational wealth and a lasting legacy, making novelty fights unnecessary. Even if a long-awaited bout with Tyson Fury never happens, Jordan said Joshua's financial security means retirement would be a perfectly reasonable decision.
Earning more than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, thankfully it didn't go to points, because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance. You know, and he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time. And I think he only landed one clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? And that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But, I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what are we seeing?
Exactly that, you know, and I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment, and that was pretty much it. But not entertainment that many people enjoyed, if I'm honest. I think that people wanted to see a
Joe Rogan went on to praise Anthony Joshua's physical tools, highlighting his speed, athleticism, and fight-ending power. Rogan explained that Joshua moves like a much lighter fighter while carrying devastating knockout strength. He described Joshua as a nightmare matchup because of how quickly he can close distance and end exchanges. According to Rogan, those traits make it unrealistic for crossover fighters to compete with him at a serious level.
But this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is
Here's the
terrifying.
thing that nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power. One punch.
Trainer Adam Booth offered a brutally honest breakdown, noting that Jake Paul did manage to make Joshua miss at certain moments. Booth viewed this as significant, saying Jake's movement and positioning forced Joshua to reset rather than land freely. While he made it clear this didn't mean Jake was winning, Booth acknowledged that creating hesitation against an elite heavyweight shows growth. He added that making a fighter like Joshua miss requires preparation, timing, and confidence. However, Booth stressed that none of those moments altered the outcome. Once Joshua found his opening, his class, power, and experience decided the fight.
Joshua and Jake Paul shared a ring. Your takeaways from the 6 rounds that we saw, presuming you watched?
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a 2-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, you know, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot's put that shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, like it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually hats off to him because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
I know everyone will come with the idea that, oh, well, AJ should just go in there 1 round and smash him to bits, and that should be it was a big ring, right? Perhaps he could have cut the ring off a bit better, but would I be right in saying that regardless of skill level, if you forget about that with the 2 for a second, if someone is on the back foot on their bike and doing what Jake was doing, it's difficult no matter who you are, no matter the kind of separation in skill level.
It's a big ring, and you've either got to run at him and look like a novice yourself, or just take your time and understand.
In the aftermath, attention briefly shifted to Logan Paul, who appeared to posture toward Anthony Joshua and speak about avenging his brother. Logan reportedly expressed interest in fighting Joshua, but analysts immediately dismissed the idea as even more lopsided than Jake's bout. They noted that Jake trains full-time with professional boxing coaches, while Logan lacks that commitment and technical foundation. Most agreed that a Logan versus Joshua fight would cross from spectacle into outright farce and further damage boxing's image.
Would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing or has trained with real boxing trainers in real boxes. Whereas Logan Paul, you know, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some 2 pieces with no sides, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, you know, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake, which I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake, it took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't gonna do that. Logan's gonna come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, you know, do all this stuff. And what's gonna happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's gonna hit Jake and he's gonna break Jake down.
Sugashano Mali focused his analysis on Jake Paul's mindset entering the fight. He explained that Jake's trash talk and confidence were often misunderstood. According to Mali, that mindset was necessary for Jake to mentally prepare himself to face a two-time Olympic champion. He emphasized that belief and self-talk are essential when stepping into overwhelming danger. Without that mental edge, Mali argued, Jake would not have been able to perform under the pressure. While the loss was decisive, he believes Jake's approach reflected the psychological demands of facing an elite heavyweight.
Out in the ring.
Jake was shooting double legs too.
Shooting double legs, nice
Duck
ones
unders.
with ankle picks, duck unders. But dude, God, I see so much people talking shit on the fight, which, dude, what the fuck did they expect? Like, Jake was hyping himself up, saying he's gonna win. Dude, that's self-belief. He needed that to go in. He needed that to get himself into the ring. You know what I'm saying? He just needed that.
What do you think about the sticking that tongue out?
Dude, he's a showman. This is a fucking YouTuber that switched to pro boxing.
Yep.
And he's fighting Anthony fucking Joshua.
He's
He made $90 million, $7.5 million per minute. Nate Diaz says that boy don't work hard enough. This girl in the UFC said Jake Paul shot more double legs in boxing in a match than I did in my UFC career. Ryan Garcia said he's a runner, he's a track star. Aljamain said this is a clown show. Josh Hammond said, dude, it's like, what did they expect? They expect him to go in there and look like a clean fucking Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. Two of the, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
You see the aftermath, like his jaw and everything? Fuck.
Jake Paul's broken jaw. Jake has to get wired shut for 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, like
Tim
titanium
had to do
plates.
7 weeks.
Yeah, Tim says that was the worst thing he's ever gone through.
7 weeks. Tim broke his jaw in Montana. Tried to go to the hospital. Hospital said the surgeon's out of town. So now he has to. So he's fucking goes like a week without even getting surgery. At least Jake was able to probably get it like next day, that same day. But it's like all the people hating on Jake. It's crazy. Connor said Jake is stupid and will be altered permanently from this bout. I look at it. It's inspiring seeing what he does because I know how much like he's putting in work. He's doing legitimate fight camps. He's doing sparring. He's doing rounds. He's eating. He's doing everything.
Teddy Atlas clarified that his prediction of the fight lasting several rounds was rooted in real boxing factors, not hype or staging. He cited Joshua's long layoff, his previous knockout loss, and the mental hesitation that can follow such setbacks. Atlas explained that these issues take time to overcome, especially for fighters who aren't fast starters. He also pointed to the larger ring size, which gave Jake more room to move early. Atlas said Jake had a real survival-based game plan, but once the pressure increased, the reality of elite competition set in and fatigue took over.
Gonna go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was gonna be a silent agreement. I wasn't sure there was gonna be a sparring match agreement that we'll spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why he said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, you know, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, you know, whatever. So that was part of it. But there was real parts. Say, that's the fixed part. That's the WWE part. That's where the people, and I'm with you. I get it if you want to think that. Here's why I picked rounds, and this is what I think I saw, and I know that in my mind I saw, was the fact is that a lot of people didn't think about 15 months off. And there was going to be some ruts, there was going to be some hesitation, there was going to be some time. You get knocked out by Dubois freaking 15 months ago. There were going to be ghosts in the attic. I don't care who you're fighting, you get in the ring again. It's going to take a minute to exercise those ghosts. The rust, you want to call it rust, whatever. It's going to take 5-6 rounds to get rid of the rust. But it's going to, the doubt, the self-doubt, the being in the ring for the first time with nothing in between after being knocked out, that was going to be a play. And then the size of the ring, 22 by 20. It's usually 20 to 20 is pretty usually around average. And it's 22 by 20. More room to elude, more room to move around, right? I thought maybe go in there with...
Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi delivered a harsh assessment of how the fight ended for Jake Paul. They noted the serious injuries, including a jaw broken in 2 places and lost teeth, yet argued that Jake still failed to earn respect from boxing fans. Algieri said fans weren't entertained because Jake never truly tried to fight, suggesting he would have earned more respect by going out aggressively. Malignaggi added that Jake's hit-and-run style was unsustainable, draining his legs and only delaying the inevitable. As a novice, Paulie explained, a fighter can either fight or run, but not do both effectively. Jake chose survival, and both analysts agreed that decision hurt his reputation more than an earlier knockout would have.
Yeah, an Ngannou type fight. Yeah, Ngannou, he's got balls. Ngannou's got balls, man. He went out there and he tried to fight, tried to win. Jake Paul didn't try to win at any point during the fight. He was just trying to survive. I think that's actually ultimately going to hurt him with boxing fans.
What do you think, Paulie? I mean, you talked about the in and out kind of style, kind of hits and runs, and you said that A, it runs out your legs. He was exhausted a couple rounds into the fight, and B, it only saved him for so long.
He doesn't have the boxing skills to box on the move anyway. Once I saw the big ring, I knew he was going to run for his life. When you're that much of a novice, which obviously it's not even an insult to him, it's just lack of experience, but when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You're either going to fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked down round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have gotten the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. Now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because you didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness of his approach to the fight. You're gonna be a fighter, then don't make an ass out of the whole sport, out of the whole business, and out of yourself first and foremost. Because in the end, what happens? You got his jaw broke anyway. So what ends up happening? What's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get knocked out. You got hurt and you got knocked out anyway, but you just prolonged the inevitable and you got no respect out of it now because nobody's respecting that kind of performance. Nobody's respecting a performance where you were totally content to steal money from everyone.
In the end, the outcome felt inevitable. A mismatch on paper that played out the same way in the ring. Anthony Joshua's size, speed, and one-punch power proved decisive. At the same time, Jake Paul showed flashes of improvement, toughness, and defensive movement that suggest he is learning, but not ready to bridge the gap to an Olympic-level heavyweight. The fallout highlights 2 opposing views: critics who see these fights as damaging spectacles, and supporters who respect the courage it takes to step into real danger. Either way, the result reinforced